We're having a look at chapter 2, constitutional design of your civics, and we were discussing question 1 about apartheid as a system unique to South Africa and the struggle of ANC against it. I was discussing the point where I told you that many sensitive whites also joined the ANC, and the fact that just because a certain section of people are oppressive and they're probably mean, it doesn't mean that you can generalize it. Several countries announced that it is an unjust racism. However, the white government of South Africa continued its apartheid, and they tortured and killed thousands of black people. Summarize the speech of Nelson Mandela at the midnight of 26th April 1994. So, basically Nelson Mandela is the hero of South Africa for the fight against apartheid. And let's have a look at his speech. He stated this speech once South Africa formed its own government, its own democratic government. At the midnight of 26 April 1994, the new national flag of the Republic of South Africa was unfurled, marking the newly born democracy. The first president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, gave his speech on this historic day. He describes that South Africans were prepared to inherit capacity for goodness in the other. This means, he said, South Africans will believe that all of us are inherently good from inside, our hearts are good. He said that our goodness to the whites, and they said that they should free themselves and remove apartheid system and introduce democracy. His whole idea, South Africans, the black population of South Africa is not going to take revenge from the white population of South Africa. In fact, now all the colors are going to live together. He wanted that South Africa should be based on equality of all races and men and women, on democratic values, social justice and human rights. He appealed to the blacks to forgive the whites for the atrocities they had committed while in power. Often you will hear that compassion is better than revenge. Same idea here also. Leave them. Do not take revenge. Don't seek revenge, because that will not really... You think that if you seek revenge, it may make you feel happy, but it doesn't. In the long run, forgiveness actually works better. Nelson Mandela also said a little about the Constitution. He says that the Constitution of the country speaks on both the past and the future. It declares that the people of the country should never permit the repetition of their racist, brutal and repressive past. This point means that this Constitution bears witness of the problematic repressive pasts that have happened, and in order to have a better future, we have to remember this past and also remember to not let it come back again. What is a constitution? What purpose does it adhere to? Adhere means adhere, or what purpose does it solve? The constitution of a country is a set of written rules that are accepted by all people living together in a country. A constitution is the supreme law that determines the relationship among people living in a territory, and also the relationship between the people and the government. So basically, a constitution is a set of written rules that all the people have to follow in a country. Now, it not only determines the relationship between the citizens, but also the relationship between the government and the people. The following are the purposes it adheres to. First, it generates a degree of trust and coordination that is necessary for different kind of people to live together. Let's take India for example. India is such a diverse country. Because we have a constitution, we live together with people of different faiths, people of different beliefs, people of different cultures, who have different food habits and different languages. Now imagine in South Africa. This country had such a terrible past. If there wasn't a constitution, if these laws were not written down, blacks would have probably taken revenge from the whites, and they would have been justified to an extent also. But this constitution said, no, we will now live peacefully in harmony. So the coordination that is required between different people to live together. Second, It specifies how the government will be constituted, who will have power to take which decisions. So it justifies the powers of the government and says what the government is supposed to do. Third, it lays down limits on the powers of the government and tells us what the rights of the citizens are. Very important. The government, just because the government has been elected by the people or just because the government is in power, does not mean that the government can do anything. It feels like the people have rights, fundamental rights, which protect them from the atrocities of the government. Fourth, it expresses the aspirations of the people about creating a good society. Very importantly, if you have a look at the Constitution, it will mention something as duties also. So that's very important. It tells us how we need to behave as citizens, the things we need to abide by, and so on. What was the compromise implemented by a democratic South African constitution? After long negotiations, both the parties, the whites and the blacks, agreed to a compromise in the democratic South Africa. It said that the white agreed to the principle of majority rule and that one person, one vote would take place. They also agreed to accept some basic rights for the poor and the workers. The blacks agreed that the majority rule would not be absolute. They agreed that the property of the whites would not be taken away. So two things. The whites are saying, fine, we will live together with the blacks. We will respect them. We will respect the poor people and the workers. And we understand that blacks are more in number and a government would be of the majority, but voting would take place. And the blacks say, fine, we don't want revenge from the whites and we will not even take away the property of the white people. We're going to stop here today because what we had a look at today in today's lesson is about South Africa. From the next lesson onwards, I will be explaining to you the question answers specifically of India. Thank you.